Are you a high schooler looking for a way to give back to the community? Join the Marana Teen Advisory Group for your chance to plan fun events, create meaningful projects, and make your voice heard. Learn more and apply today at maranaaz.gov/mtag. Teen-driven, community-focused, future-ready.
Have you heard? Marana has unforgettable festivals and events. From parades to fireworks, rodeo competitions to light shows, we'll show you a good time. Learn more about the Marana Signature Event Series by visiting maranaaz.gov/events.
Need help with your utility bills? Marana's Utility Assistance Program provides up to $500 per household once a year to help qualifying residents cover electric, gas, or water costs. This free program is designed to prevent financial hardship and keep your home running. Learn more and apply at maranaaz.gov/CDBG because everyone deserves a little support when they need it most.
Welcome to Real Talk with the Town, where I sit down with Marana staff to answer your burning questions about our beautiful community. My name is Terry Rozema, and I'm the town manager for the town, so let's get started. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Real Talk with the Town. My name is Terry, and I am your host. And today we're going to be talking about water availability. We're going to talk specifically about cuts to cap. And who better to have in here than a couple of newcomers to the show? Never been on. We're going to talk about that in a second. But Mike Osborne, our Deputy Director of Water and Wastewater. Mike, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
And Jerry, what is your title?
I'm the Water Resources Administrator for the town.
It sounds super fancy. Is it fancy?
It's a lot of responsibility, Terry, but I'm up for the job.
Up for the challenge. So Jerry's been. How long you been with us, Jerry?
Coming up on 2 years.
Coming up on 2 years.
Yeah.
Mike, however, has been with us for a century and a half. Not that long, but
not quite a century and a half. 21 years.
21 years, and. Kind of interesting story because Mike started out with us as a parks maintenance, was it?
Park monitor.
Park monitor.
That's right. I watch the parks.
Well, you watch the parks, yep. And he has moved his way up through the organization all the way to Deputy Director of Water and Wastewater. Yeah, very cool. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. Our icebreaker here specifically deals with podcast. You guys listen to podcasts?
Yeah, I sure do.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay, Jerry's a listener of podcasts. What's your favorite podcast of all time, Jerry?
Oh, any number of hunting podcasts. I guess it depends on what season it is. I'll listen to some elk podcasts when elk season's coming up.
Right on. I didn't even know they had podcast on.
They've got a podcast for everything, Terry.
Podcast for everything. All right. Mike, how about you? Favorite podcast?
Oh, I'm a big fan of those hunting podcasts as well. Favorite one would be the Meat Eater podcast. They cover all the seasons.
Meat Eater podcast.
Yep.
Now, nobody said Real Talk with the Town podcast, so they missed an incredible opportunity to win points with the town manager, but you guys will work on that, I'm sure. So let me ask you this, though. Have you ever been on a podcast before, Mike?
No, I have not been on a podcast before. This is the first time.
First time. How you feeling about it, though? Honest, how you...
A little nervous,
A little nervous.
We'll make it work.
Okay, Jerry, how about you? You ever been on a podcast?
Never been on a podcast, and also a little nervous, but looking forward to getting some good information out to the community.
All right, so not only first time on Real Talk with the Town, but first time on a podcast, period. And so they're a little bit nervous, to be expected. But they're going to do just fine. I can tell our listeners are going to be happy to hear this incredible information. So, gentlemen, let's jump right into this. Water is always an issue in the desert, right? It's a valuable resource. We want to make sure that we're handling it well, that we're being good stewards of water. And recently, there's been talk of cuts to the CAP. And that has people a little bit concerned. So, Mike, let's start with you, and then we'll jump over to Jerry. But let's start with you. What is the town doing to prepare for these cuts?
Yeah, so the town here at Marana Water, we're doing a lot of different things to prepare for these cuts. And we have been doing a lot of things to prepare for these cuts, even before these cuts became as prevalent as they are now. It's always been the goal of Marana Water to focus our efforts on those local renewable supplies. And that's something that we've been doing in the past, and we continue to do. A little more emphasis on it now with the cuts coming on the Central Arizona project. But it's something that we've always focused on and worked towards, is those local renewable supplies.
Okay. So these cuts are imminent, right? I mean, it's not like might happen. I mean, it's highly likely at this point.
Yeah, I do want to put some brackets on it.
Okay.
It is a very dynamic situation, everything that's going on the Colorado River and with the CAP in particular. And it's not an issue that Marana is just facing. It's an issue that the entire state faces, really. So I think in terms of are the cuts coming, I think we can expect to see some level of cuts coming. How much or how little, there's still a lot of daylight in between those two.
Okay.
But I think we'll have a clearer picture come July timeframe next month on what those cuts might actually be.
Okay. So, Jerry, you're the water resources guy. So there's a lot of, like you said, there's a little bit of pressure on you, right? You got to get out there. You got to find water resources. You got to find different ways to deliver. Mike's been with the team for quite a while. You're pretty new to the team. But what's been your kind of assessment in terms of where the town's at with regard to water?
I think generally we're in a pretty good position for a few reasons. One, I think foremost that most intrigued me about the Marana water, the town's position in the water industry is our ownership of our effluent that's being generated at our water reclamation facility. And the benefit that we realize from that is something that is somewhat unique in our region, and that a lot of the water that we're serving our customers does make its way to our water reclamation facility where it's treated. And once it's treated to a sufficient quality, discharged into our recharge basins. And when that water infiltrates, gets back down to the aquifer, we're given credits for the water that we're treating and returning to the aquifer. So it's a way of recycling water that keeps that water under our ownership and allows for some growth to be offset with the renewables that we're generating at our facility. So I think from that perspective, I feel pretty confident and fortunate to be working for a utility that's in that position. As far as groundwater is concerned, we're also fortunate. There's a lot of parts of the state that are seeing significant declines in their water table, even prior to CAP being the allocations being reduced that we're facing the potential of currently. And that's not something we've seen here locally. I mean, and we can talk about it a little bit more detail, but there's a lot of dynamics that are at play here in the town that have resulted in rising water levels. The water table in the last several decades has continued to rise, where in other areas it's declined. So when you find yourself in a position where your imported renewables are being stressed or reduced, you're able to use some of that groundwater that we've been storing over the decades to kind of bridge the gap until we can bring on those new renewable supplies that Mike alluded to.
Okay. Now, Jerry, that was a great summary. So I want to make sure that we highlight several things that you just talked about there that I think are actually, to me, it's a little bit mind-blowing, right? So I want to make sure that we hit on this fact because I think this is huge. The water tables in Marana are rising. They're not going down, right? Groundwater tables are actually coming up, not going down. And so, there's a lot of concern out there. We're going to run out of water. We're going to run out of water. So what is it that's actually contributing? Because it's not like we're getting hordes of rain, right? It's not like we got a ton of rain that's filtering down into the water table. So what is it that's contributing? We don't have snow melt here coming down, or at least not much. Right. So what is it that's contributing to that water table rising for us?
I'd say it's a dynamic system. So I'm going to try to boil it down to maybe the two of the main factors that have impacted the rise that we've seen in the aquifer. And starting out with the fact that we're in an area that is there's a lot of recharge occurring in the town of Marana, whether it be in groundwater savings facilities where a lot of the farmland's being irrigated with imported renewable water like CAP or potentially effluent in the future, or if you're looking at the Lower Santa Cruz Managed Recharge Project, which is water being discharged from Pima County's Tres Rios facility and flows right through town. That's an underground storage facility where water that's treated is infiltrating back into the aquifer. And
that's been going on now now for decades.
Sure has. And the groundwater savings facilities, a couple decades now, and then, most recently in the last decade, we've seen the development of our Marana Water Reclamation Facility underground storage facility. That's a mouthful.
Yes, it is.
But it's our own recharge project where we are recharging the water that's being treated at our facility. So the recharge component, I think, is a big contributing factor to that rise in the water table that we've seen. But you also have the fact that there's been a conversion of a lot of ag land from agricultural water application uses to developing water sources to supply residential communities. And those residential communities can be counterintuitive to a lot of folks, but they actually use typically a lot less water than some of that ag land did historically, sometimes 3 times less.
That's the other point I wanted. I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because I think, I want to just make sure our listeners are clear. So we got recharge efforts that are going through wastewater treatment facilities. I want to talk about our own one here in just a minute. And then the other thing is the retirement of farmland actually ends up contributing more water to the water table as well, because houses use less water than fields that are being watered, cotton fields and wheat fields and whatever, they take a lot more water than houses do by about, what'd you say?
About 3 times. I mean,
about 3 times.
Estimate, 3 to 4 acre feet of water. Now bringing in the acre feet component, which can, be a little confusing too.
That confuses people a lot.
Let's say about 3 times less water might be used on average for a residential community if it was historically being used for agriculture, like cotton or alfalfa.
So that's a huge water savings right there.
It is.
Yeah. All right. So the other thing I want to hit on, and I'm gonna jump over to Mike for this, because you've been around long enough that when the town got into the wastewater treatment business, and we made that decision. I want to say 14, 15 years ago, was it?
Yeah. So we took over the facility in 2012.
2012. Well, I was pretty close. What is that? That's 14 years.
Yep.
Okay.
So
all right.
The conversations with the county were going on well before that, but that's when Marana officially took ownership.
So good decision, bad decision from your perspective, Mike? Somebody's been in the water business for a long time. Good decision, bad decision. What do you think?
I think it's been a great decision for the town to get into the water reclamation business for all the reasons Jerry had just mentioned. Town has historically been all about the water. Back in 1977, one of the slogans was, "It's all about the water."
It's all about the water.
It's all about the water.
Yeah.
This is just another example of how Marana prioritizes our water resources here. So it's had a couple different benefits. The one major one being the control of the effluent coming off of that facility, being able to recharge it and right back into the aquifer. And the second one was always puts Marana in the driver's seat in terms of development, sewer capacities, conveyance capacities, those types of issues. It's put Marana in that driver's seat. So if we want a development to move forward, we can not very easily, but we can expand our capacities in our conveyance system to allow that development to move forward.
Okay, very good. So, town is doing some stuff. Any other things that you want to highlight that the town is doing to prepare for the cuts to the potential cuts to the CAP?
Yeah,
I'm going to use potential. I think it's probably likely that there's going to be cuts. Like you said, I think it's good to know that we don't know exactly if those cuts are going to be significant, if they're going to be minimal. We just don't know. But anything else you want to hit on in terms of other things that the town is doing to prepare?
Yeah, I think a couple of other things that we can hit on real quick are some of the more immediate efforts that we're making headway on and purchasing some more of those renewable water supplies into the Marana. The key one I want to kind of highlight here, and I won't go into too much detail about it, but there is an opportunity of a partnership with the local irrigation district here in Marana, CMID, or Cortero Marana Irrigation District. Mm-hmm. They have a historic surface water right on the Santa Cruz River, and so surface water is treated much differently than groundwater. So there's a potential partnership there between the town of Marana and CMID to enter into a water purchase agreement to where Marana Water would be able to purchase surface water from the irrigation district and offset our groundwater pumping that way. So it's a complicated process. We've been working with the irrigation district for a while on it now, making slow headway.
Mm-hmm. But headway. That's what I want to hear.
And I think if once we're able to bring this project across the finish line, it's going to be a huge benefit to the town of Marana and our water customers and our overall water portfolio.
That's fantastic. And that, honestly, I mean, it sounds like a win-win, like a big win, maybe even a win-win-win. I don't know. But it sounds like a big win for the town and probably a win for the irrigation district, because as more farmland is retired, they're delivering less water, have less need for it, and the town has need for it. So sounds like a pretty good partnership. Jerry, you have any thoughts on that?
I completely agree about the opportunity with CMID that we're working towards. I think it's going to be a great benefit to the town and CMID, and just got to clear some hurdles, but we're making progress. I'd say, Mike mentioned it earlier, we're always looking to try to bring in more renewable supplies to our portfolio. And in this current climate in the water resources industry in the state, that's become more challenging. Mm-hmm. I think we're making progress towards the surface water that's local, but then we're also kind of pivoting towards trying to firm up our conservation efforts and trying to make better use of the water that we have available, and we've developed some good outreach materials with the help of our communications team, and trying to help folks understand how they can make better use of the water that we're providing them, because we're very confident that we have water to serve our community and allow it to grow into the vibrant community we're all planning towards. But we don't have an excess that says we can waste it and use it however.
And we shouldn't anyway.
Exactly.
Even if we could, we shouldn't.
Just exactly. I'm just being good stewards of the resource. We live in a desert, and let's just be conscientious of the water that we're using. And we're not telling folks they can't use water, they can't grow their rose garden, they can't swim in their pools, but just try to encourage that conservation that I think largely the town's led the way in implementing some of those practices, and just kind of get that information out to the customers is something we've really stepped up the effort towards.
The H2O newsletter.
That's it.
Oh,
look forward to the mail.
All right. So does every water customer get the H2O newsletter?
Yes.
Every Marana water customer.
Yeah, it'd be insert in a mailer or available online when they pay their bill. Yeah, every water customer. And I think right now our plan is as a quarterly release of that. I mean, kind of play it by ear. So we want to put out as much information as we can, but we don't want to overwhelm people with too much.
Well, I think that's great. And it's awesome to hear that you guys aren't just now thinking about this. Yeah. Like, hey, we recently heard that CAP is going to be reducing and we're scrambling. We're not scrambling because it sounds like these are things that we've been working on for a significant amount of time.
Absolutely. And we are planning for a future where we do see reductions in CAP deliveries. And like we've said a couple times now, we don't know how much, but we know it's very high likelihood we're going to see a reduction in what we're importing and of that CAP supply. But we're also in a unique position where we do have that buffer, where currently we import CAP water, we recharge it, and we recover that water. So we're in a good position to kind of weather the storm that some of the utilities, especially further north in the Phoenix area where they're delivering the supply directly, they're going to be scrambling maybe a little bit more than the town will to kind of make up that gap and get to a point where they can continue to serve.
Yeah, continue to serve that water. And I do want to just highlight just the overall at a high level what Marana water portfolio looks like and what does CAP mean to that. So our 100-year water supply, and if I get too into the weeds, just feel free to stop me here. 15% of that is CAP water. So overall,
okay, this is perfect, Mike, because this is exactly where I was going next.
Yeah.
So you anticipated my move and you beat me to it, like a great chess player always does. So well done, Mike.
Yep.
Go ahead and finish this off, because I think this is vitally important for people to know and understand as well. So let's roll this out to folks so that they hear this important point.
Yeah, so with that 15% of our designation of assured water supply, our 100-year water supply is CAP water. And that's a relatively small percentage when you look at some of the other water providers in Arizona. So we're not solely dependent on that CAP water. We have, effluent, we have groundwater, we have other waters in that portfolio. And our long-term goal is to reduce that dependence on CAP water and other outside sources and focus mainly on local renewable supplies.
I love that. And I think as technology, correct me if I'm wrong here, but as we get better from a technology standpoint with the recycling of water and treating of water, I got to believe that the ability to recover higher percentages of the water we use just continues to go up. Is that a safe thing to say?
Yeah, I think that's an absolutely safe thing to say. And I think that the Southern Arizona region as a whole has demonstrated that through, if you look back 50 years ago and our water consumption in the region 50 years ago with the population we have, and today with our population, we're using roughly the same amount of water.
As we were 50 years ago.
And I could get those numbers wrong, and I'm looking to Jerry to make sure
okay.
I don't.
Yeah, Jerry's a water resource guy.
Right,
He's the guy with the numbers. Yeah. Is that accurate?
Our gallons per capita per day, how much each resident uses per day is steadily dropping, and we're being more efficient with the water that we're delivering.
So that's water efficient toilets, dishwashers, washers,
desert landscaping.
Yeah. Good. So you look like there was something that you were going to say in addition to. Were you going to piggyback off something?
No,
Mike was talking about, or
not really. I was just going to mention that that we do have a rather small percentage of our portfolio that's made up of CAP water, and I think if looking at what the Bureau of Reclamation has proposed as far as the range of potential reductions, we're looking at a very small impact to the town.
So that's a huge point here because I've talked to a number of people who are highly concerned about the reduction in CAP and what that's going to mean for water delivery to our residents. And it's good to hear from both of you that it's a small percentage that of our entire portfolio is 15%, so it's a small percentage. So reductions of 10 or 20 or 40 or 50% of that CAP water isn't going to decimate our ability to deliver water to people.
Yeah, absolutely not. We are going to be able to continue to pump and treat and deliver that water. If you got a house here in Marana now, you got a 100-year water supply. If it's a planned subdivision coming in, we have to assure that subdivision has 100 years worth of water, that we can effectively deliver that water to your house for the next 100 years.
So nobody, Mike, in the next 100 years is going to turn on their faucet. Of course, if I'm here in 100 years, man, that's something's gone very weird. But people who have their homes right now, their water is assured. There's never going to come a point for them when they turn on the faucet and nothing comes out.
Right.
Unless they have an issue with their system.
Unless they have an issue.
They have a broke pipe somewhere or something, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they, absolutely.
So I want to make sure that I cover one more thing before we move on, and that is this whole idea of using the surface water rights from an irrigation district. Now, we're moving down the track on this thing, and we hope to get it across the finish line. We believe we're going to get it across the finish line.
Yep.
Do we have a time frame on that? I mean, is that something you feel comfortable talking about it, or is it just...
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of how we take delivery of that water.
Okay.
There's a couple different options available on how we could take delivery of that water, and getting the buy-in from the regulators and the irrigation district and us, and what is the most cost-effective way to take delivery of that water. So depending on, we feel confident we can get a deal across the finish line, in the next, a water purchase agreement, a framework set up to how this might look within the next 6 months or so. How we physically take delivery of that water might take a little bit more time, depending on the method in which we take that water, infrastructure requirements, upgrades, and the financing and funding of those upgrades of the infrastructure. So when we can actually take delivery of that water, we hope soon, if we have our way, but depending on the level of infrastructure, it might take a little bit longer than that.
Okay. All right. So lots of things going on here. We talked a little bit about the technology just a minute ago, and there's something that is out there that we talk about quite a bit around here in the town of Marana, and that's WP, Advanced Water Purification. And talk about the technology and how far that's come, and how far away are we from really going to a true advanced water purification system?
Yeah, so the technology has come just in the last 10 years. It's been amazing to watch just how the technology has matured in such a short amount of time, how the regulations have matured to allow for it to even happen, is a fairly new development in Arizona. So a lot of Marana has been very involved with the AWP process from previous leadership all the way up to current leadership. So it's a fascinating process, and a lot of technology goes into it. A lot of skill goes into operating those types of facilities. And I think that where Marana is right now and when would AWP come into play for Marana is kind of up in the air right now.
Okay.
We're working through our water master plan where we're looking at the build out of the town of Marana water service area. And we are looking at the potential of AWP in certain areas where it makes sense. I think what we want to focus on is there are some water losses with the current technology and through the RO process and different types of things like that.
Reverse osmosis.
Yep.
RO, yep.
Talking an acronym. Sorry about that.
No, it's what we do. It's what we do, but our listeners don't always, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what we really get a lot of bang for our buck by recharging that water in underground storage facilities. We take little loss from evaporation and plant uptake and things like that. So right now our focus is to recharge every single drop of water we can. In the future, there may come a point where it makes sense where the water losses are a lot less than they are today across that treatment process, and we're able to stop pumping groundwater at all, and we can just tie into an AE facility, which would be ideal. But we really want to make sure we do that analysis and make sure it really makes sense to the town. Are we putting water reclamation facilities in an area that don't have great recharge or we can't get permitted for recharge? Those would be high likelihood candidates for an AE facility.
Okay, good. So I don't know which one of you is the best person to answer this next question, but the cuts that are coming on the CAP, Arizona's taking a huge percentage of the cut. I forget what that percentage is, 70% or something like that. I'm not sure, but you guys can correct me on that. So which one of you wants to take a stab at that? Jerry's looking, he's nodding his head. He's like, I was expecting this question.
I'm jumping out of my chair one responding.
I was expecting this question.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think you stated it perfectly, Terry. There's a lot of uncertainty until the Bureau of Reclamation makes the final determination of how they're going to operate the Colorado River system. In the coming months, we'll find out what their plan is. But currently, we're estimating about a 77% of the cut that is going to be proposed by or required by the Bureau is going to be made up by cuts to Arizona.
77. That was
77%.
Well, it was close, I guess. But
That's one of the estimates. That's kind of a middle ground estimate. Some of the proposals are more severe, and some will result in less cuts. But some of the proposals on either end of that, maybe 77% cut, would require consensus of the upper and the lower basin states. And up to this point, there's been no indication that's going to occur. So if you were to take a middle ground, one of the alternatives that was proposed a few months back by the Bureau estimated that 77% cut would be the outcome of the alternative to Arizona. And largely that's due to the fact that Arizona, when the Central Arizona Project Canal System was constructed from a determination made by a court back in the 60s, we became a junior priority right holder of the Colorado River system water to California. Now, it's Arizona's position that we're not junior to Colorado and New Mexico and Utah and all the other basin states, but that's kind of the tone of the message sent by the Bureau, that they're going to kind of operate under the assumption that made Arizona that junior right holder. So we see the lion's share of the cuts. The upper basin state doesn't take too much. California doesn't take too much. And, I think there's
Mexico takes a little bit.
Mexico takes a bit. Nevada takes a bit. But the upper basin states basically still whole.
Yeah.
But I think Arizona does have, a strong argument that the law of the river, or the Colorado Compact, negotiated back in the 1920s, is still relevant today. And
I didn't realize it went that far back.
That eventually, if we think that we're bearing more of the burden than we feel is right, I think the state's position to try to work through the court process to improve our position. But right now, I think we're left with the future, with the potential of having some major cuts to the state. Now, that doesn't mean that each of the municipal right holders like Marana and Oro Valley and some of the other providers here locally are going to be seeing a 77% cut to their allocation. That's going to impact the agricultural communities, some of the industrial communities in the state. So the impacts are going to be widespread within the state. And I think there's starting to be an acknowledgement that there's a lot of important industries here that need to be protected. And there's a lot of communities that are depending on this supply. And my thought is, even if Tucson active management area and the state as a whole ends up seeing some short-term reductions, there's going to be some big solutions that are going to be required to maintain, the amount of development and industrial and agricultural and the what's been developed in the state of Arizona over the last decades through the use of the CAP water. So there's big projects. Fortunately, Marana is not on our own. If we were going to go out there and try to advocate for Marana and Arizona, we probably wouldn't have the manpower or
Right.
at least to do that. But you look at the amount of stakeholders that are going to be impacted by that potential 70% cut to the state deliveries. They're significant, and I think we're going to see some real innovative solutions as these different stakeholders kind of get engaged in this process of developing new desalinization plants in some of the, California or in Mexico. Providing more water for the state of Arizona through those other investments I love solutions.
I love hearing about alternative solutions, engaged innovations, one of our values here at the town of Marana. So, looking for those opportunities to ensure that we have water here in the town. It's assuring to me, and I hope it is to our listeners. I feel as I listen to you guys, and I've heard a lot of this, of course, over the last number of years that I've been in this seat, and I feel really good about the town's water position. And I'm hoping that the residents of our community feel really good about it as well. But should we, from your perspectives, should we feel good about our water situation here in Marana? I'll start with you, Mike.
Yeah, I think we should feel good about our water situation here in Marana. A lot of hard work, a lot of effort has gone into getting us to where we're at today by a lot of different people. So we should feel good. Now, that doesn't mean that we can go on autopilot either.
Right.
Or cruise control. We still have to be...
Complacency kills, man.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
We still want to be an active participant in importation projects of new renewable supplies, focus on those local supplies. So we really want to be active. We feel good about where we're at now, but that doesn't mean we're letting our guard down. We still want to be an advocate for CAP and get as much of that water here as we can, and any other way we can as well. We don't want to go on autopilot.
Yeah. That's all. Like you said, 1977. What was the slogan? It's all about the water.
All about the water.
It's all about the water. 1970. Were you even alive? You weren't even alive yet.
Hey.
It wasn't even alive yet.
No.
Oh my gosh, that makes me feel old. All right. So, any thoughts from you, Jerry, on that point? Should we feel good about this? Now, you came from the city of Tucson. You were there for quite some time, right?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, and now coming over here, you have two very different water systems, and Tucson Water in a great position, right? But coming over here, should the Marana residents, should Terry Rozema, the town manager, feel good about the position that we're in?
I absolutely think you should, Terry, and you're right. I mean, the city of Tucson is in a unique position, not just in the state, but in the entire Southwest, and they are in a good position to kind of weather some of the storm that might be coming our way with regard to the reductions in CAP. But Marana is too. I think you look at our overall designation that we received back in 2024, it was for 15,000 acre feet of water. And currently we're utilizing less than a quarter of that. And if you look at or about a quarter of that, if you look at the rights that we have to water, they're not going to be significantly impacted by these reductions to the CAP, largely because we don't have a heavy reliance on CAP water. So as far as our right to water, not terribly impacted. As far as the health of our aquifer, if we're needing to pump more groundwater in the interim until we develop those new or import new renewable resources, we have a healthy aquifer to pump from to be able to utilize that, and we have the rights to pump that groundwater. Now, we don't want to pump that groundwater. That kind of flies in the face of what we've worked towards all these decades, but it's
nice to know that you have the option.
Absolutely.
If you absolutely have to use it.
It is. And it's not our intention to utilize that. And like Mike said, go on autopilot and start pumping away and not looking for those alternative supplies, because those opportunities are going to be available, and whether or not we're developing them or we're on our own or developing them in coordination with some of the other state partners, we're going to be at that table trying to move that ball forward. But we're physical water, we're good. Rights to water, we're good. And currently utilizing just a small portion of what the state says is a 100-year water supply for our community. So we're not bumping up against the upper limits of a designation determined by the Department of Water Resources. So on all fronts, I think we're in good shape, Terry.
I love it, man. This is so assuring to me. And I just want to thank you guys. I mean, when you think about professionals in any industry, when you think about experts in any industry, I'd put the two of you guys in terms of your job knowledge, your commitment to what it is you do up against anybody. So just really appreciate the value you bring to the organization, the level of commitment to ensuring that our residents get safe, reliable drinking water, not only now, but well into the future. Greatly appreciate. So thank you, Mike. Thank you, Jerry. Greatly appreciate you guys being on the show. And to all of our listeners, I hope this has been an episode that gives you some level of comfort relative to the water situation here in our town. We'll have to continue to keep you updated on cuts to the CAP and other things that come along. But until then, keep those questions coming in. We always appreciate that. Until next time. Submit your questions by visiting maranaaz.gov/realtalk, and we'll answer them right here. To receive notifications for new releases, remember to hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Also, remember to follow the town on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram to stay up to date on current news and events.